as you move up through the ranks and you move into sort of leadership roles, you tend to do a lot of informal stuff. So when somebody presents you with, this is what coaching is, and you think, oh, I need to learn that properly, that's kind of a good sort of push to get you more into it.
Welcome back to the Coach Business School podcast. I'm Andy Ramage. I'll be your coach, your host, and your guide in this conversation with the brilliant Sara Vening, which is all about reconnecting with your whys in many ways, as well as a great conversation just about coaching and the whys of coaching, because I think it's so important as a coach to constantly stay focused on your whys. Why are you doing this in the first place? To contribute, to give back, to create a life full of meaning and purpose and contribution and legacy. And we have to stay focused on the whys, because like any small business, coaching is no different. There will be challenging times, and we need to remind ourselves why we are doing this. It's one of the most powerful motivational tools that we have at our disposal. And in this conversation, we drift into many different tangents, but one of the main focuses is to focus on your whys. You're really going to enjoy this. And before we get there, just a reminder from our sponsor, my Coach Business School. If you are thinking about coaching, come and train with me on my treble accredited diploma course. And if you're already an accredited coach, don't forget, we now have an MBA. So this is all about marketing and business for accredited coaches, to take you from zero to hero, or if you're already an established coach, to help you just take that next step forward in your coaching business. The MBA is devoted to that subject. I am your guide and your coach within our MBA course, as well as the diploma course. So if you want to know more, go to coachbusiness.school and check us out. All right, let's get into today's conversation. Sara, welcome to the Coach Business School podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So where I wanted to go with this today really is explore your adventure into coaching, because I always find that's quite interesting. We tend to see lots of people, I think not dissimilar to myself, that there's a something that happens in our life that just wakes us up to maybe looking at life differently, which through many twists and turns can eventually lead us to coaching. So what was your story?
So my first encounter with formal coaching was back in Northern Rock. So Northern Rock that collapsed and fell over quite badly. And out of the collapse, they then started to rebuild the leadership team and, you know, trying to sort of make everyone gel as a team again. And some of us were given coaches, and the coach that I had was absolutely brilliant, but she used to make me cry quite often, and it was quite an intense experience. And I remember coming away from it and thinking, wow, I never knew that sort of thing existed, and it was like super, super helpful. So I sort of parked that. Do you know what I mean? Did the coaching relationship.
Why, just that for was that, you know, crying out of, you know, sort of emotion of release, or
Yeah, I think it was having the outlet and creating that space to actually work through some of the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
So at the time, everything was crisis. You can imagine it was all full on, very fast paced, and actually taking an hour at a time to sit down with somebody and talk through all this stuff. You ended up talking about things that you didn't even know were an issue. And it wasn't like counselling or therapy. It wasn't like that. It was very sort of work-based coaching. But it was just fascinating and really valuable. So,
and we were doing a coaching session prior to this. You was coaching yourself, and we both had that same learned discovery that actually a lot of people come to coaching for a reason, because there's normally a pain point.
Yeah.
And then it leads to so much more. And like you described there, in Northern Rock, the company's imploding. They bring in these coaches, and clearly you've got to work for all the dynamics of that. But then realizing, actually, this is a bit bigger than that. I'm sort of going to these new places that I hadn't expected to travel to, but the excuse that got you in the room was a pain point as such.
Yes. Yeah. So that was my first experience, and then moved jobs, various different things, and then we were doing a leadership training course at work, and we had a day session on coaching, and I decided that I was really bad at it. So as in me being a coach, I was terrible on that day, because I couldn't get it. I just didn't get it at all. So I had these two things that were parked in my head. And obviously I'd followed you for years, done one of your courses back in 2021, maybe it was, and always had this thought of doing a coaching qualification, sort of rumbling around, and it rumbled for a few years. And then last October, I think it was, I just decided to press go and jump in.
And what was it, though, that you obviously had that experience of being coached?
Yeah.
But that thought that was rumbling around in your mind, what was that? What was that was making you think, oh, actually, I might try this coaching?
Because I'd found it so valuable and fascinating when I was being the coachee, as it were, and then feeling that I was really bad at being a coach. So those two things, when you put them together, you go, okay, I'm going to go and learn more about it, and get that sort of expertise
and lean into it. Yeah, which is courageous of yourself, because a lot of people then would have used that as a reason to not lean into it, and tell themselves, "Story, I'm no good at this. I'll never be able to do that coaching thing." Whereas, why do you think you were a little bit different in that regard?
I think because I've been watching certainly a lot of what you've been saying about coaching for a long time, and just seeing the value, and other people at work. I think you do informal coaching at work, don't you? Like as you move up through the ranks and you move into sort of leadership roles, you tend to do a lot of informal stuff. So when somebody presents you with, this is what coaching is, and you think, oh, I need to learn that properly, that's kind of a good sort of push to get you more into it.
Yeah, I love it. So you decide to take the plunge.
Took the plunge.
And you step in and come with us on the diploma journey, the 6-month journey. What was that like? What were some of the fears coming into that? How did that play out? What was that experience like?
Well, I remember the very first session, because I was really excited about doing it. And it was like, I think it was 1 day a month online. So it was 10 till 5 or something like that. And on the first day, so the first sort of 2 hours into the whole course, we actually had to do coaching with each other, and I nearly died. I was like, oh my God, I can't. But we did, and it was great, because it was like, you have to jump in right at the deep end, but it was the best way to get over yourself, I guess,
Yeah, and I always like to make sure everyone's had a go at coaching on that first day, because then that, it doesn't hang around like that fear that rolls into the next month and the next month. On that first day, you've done it all. So there's nothing to fear, and realize that one of the greatest skills you can learn as a coach is, one, that you are your best client and you'll always be your best client. And it's stepping into those spaces of fear, isn't it? And doing it anyway, and then realizing you can just grow through that process and no one really cares, especially when you create a safe environment. It's a brilliant way to learn. And the buzz that everyone has on the back of it. Like I get such a joy when people come back out of that, like the beaming smile.
Like, oh my God, I've done it.
I did it. Yeah. So that starts to unfold and you're learning and living this experience. And then where does it like blossom and evolve to, and how does your coaching practice potentially start to take shape?
So I think once it got to about month 3, in 3 to 4 was the point where we had to do an assignment, and there was loads of stuff going on, loads of reading and everything. And then we had to find some pro bono clients. And I actually found that bit really easy to do. So went out, found, I think it was 6 or 7 pro bono clients that I worked with. And once you get into doing that yourself, you feel like you're starting to stand on your own 2 feet. So it gives you much more confidence around the fact that not only can I do it in the sort of training session on the course, but I can go out into the real world, find people that want it, work with them, have a positive impact out of that, get some really good feedback, and it just gives you that confidence that when you finish the course, you're ready to go out and coach properly. I'm going to say in quotes.
Real humans.
Real humans, yes.
As we like to say. And then over time, how has that evolved into the real humans, real coaching, as it were, and what sort of niche have you ended up gravitating towards?
Yeah, so my background is finance. So I've worked in finance all my life. I've done quite a lot of people stuff and leadership development and all sorts of things. Always been really interested in psychology. So I've always probably come to the finance work from more of a human point of view than a technical point of view. Do you know what I mean? Some finance people are real technical boffins, and I'm more of a finance leadership type. That's where I enjoy being. So I've developed sort of more into an offering that I'm building now of around finance leadership coaching and strategic finance coaching, and I'm trying to bring the coaching elements in with the finance side to support business owners and businesses in moving forward with their overall goals for their lives and for their business.
Brilliant. And we were talking about this in our session, that having that niche or that focus builds that momentum and also brings people into your world via finance, right? It's what gets people in. They've got a pain point. They need to manage their finance better within the business, or level up their understanding of finances as a CEO or an FD, whatever it might be. But once they're in the room, there's this brilliant opportunity. And that's why, I coach to take people on this bigger journey they never even see coming. The same as when you was at Northern Rock and it was all about the pain point of dealing with that turbulence. And then you develop this whole experience of going on this different emotional journey. To see that unfold again, it's the same and it could be there's a million different routes into coaching. They invariably carry some form of pain point. I wish that weren't the case, but it always is. But then once they're in the room, the excuse that gets them in the room, there's an opportunity to look at the broader elements of their life. I don't know if you're starting to find that or see that a little bit as well.
Yeah, and I think it's around opening people's eyes to the world around them and the possibilities of that. Do you know what I mean? I think we don't, as a probably a human race, but certainly in the UK, we all run 110 miles an hour, and we don't stop and pause. And I think creating that space for somebody to have those sorts of conversations is potentially life-changing for some people.
Yeah, and I think it's just endlessly fascinating. Like, if we pause and think about that as well while we're having the conversation, you get people into the room to essentially coach them around finances and learning and whatnot. But by creating the space to slow down, reflect and talk, suddenly there's an opportunity to look more broadly at their life, or tools or techniques that might help them achieve their life goals, but how they want to feel. I mean, it's just so powerful and so obvious and so simple in many ways. Yeah. And I think that's why coaching is so powerful, because so few people slow down long enough to explore their own minds, to converse, to talk about deep and meaningful things. Yes, the excuse that gets them in the room is finances. And in doing so, create these transformative breakthroughs very often. So they come to you, work on their finances, and they leave having transformed as a person. I mean, what an unbelievable gift that could potentially be for someone.
Yeah. I had one client who he had a photography business, and he was trying to generate, just build more clients and grow the business. And actually what was holding him back was all of his own limiting beliefs. And it was really interesting to work through that with him. And for him to have those, those aha moments of, oh, if I address that, that's going to unlock this whole thing. And I'll watch now what he's doing, and he's really starting to fly. And you think, I don't know how much of that was the coaching that we did, but certainly you could see his mind just opening up to look properly at what he was doing and how he was stopping himself, I guess.
Yeah. And along those lines, have you experienced someone coming to you with a note of thanks, for example, to say that, one of your sessions or something you've done has fundamentally helped them? And how did that feel?
I've got one lady who's just started her master's in psychology, and she wrote to me and said, I would never have done that if we hadn't done our coaching. I was like, I nearly cried. I was like, that's amazing.
That is the greatest. I think that's the greatest buzz in life. I think to know that your contribution, however big, small, whatever, has made a difference to someone's life. And I think that's the greatest gift of coaching for that reason, right? And then who knows where that takes that lady on that wonderful adventure of confidence that snowballs into different challenges in her life that fast forward 10, 20 years has its essence in, that time that they spent with you. I think what an incredible gift.
Yeah, it is. It's a special thing to do, I think.
So there's the buzz of contribution, but what about the buzz of turning this into something that potentially, and that is your plan, becomes your full-time vocational career, like a life of joy and purpose and contribution? How was the buzz of the first client, as such, paying client?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It just gives you that sort of validation that, I think one of the things that you've got in the marketing module on the main course is, once you've landed one person, you just do it again. You just go and do it again. You've proved to yourself that you can. And I think having that confidence that somebody is willing to give you money to spend time with you, to have those conversations, is really makes a difference to how I feel about what I can do in the future.
Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it? And then we can provide those outcomes for people that they're willing to invest in. And as we say in the training, it is about that one person, not about 1,000 or a bazillion, just one. And then you can rinse, repeat, refine, shape, shift, change, and then over time. And here I am, 12 years into this, of all of those little moments of insight and things that didn't work and they did work, and it just keeps shaping it and evolving. And what I do in terms of my coaching practice constantly evolves and changes and grows in many ways. And it's sort of exciting to see you at the start of this journey already having achieved so much and gaining real traction and seeing this as real potential for you to be able to live this life of abundance via this skill. So what does the future look like? Where is the coaching practice going in your mind?
Yeah. So one thing that I was really pleased about, I got my EMCC accreditation through.
Wonderful.
About a week ago. So you qualified as a coach practitioner with the EMCC. And for me, the reason I wanted to go with them was because it's mentoring and coaching. And I think in the field that I'm working in, it's definitely having both of those elements, accepting, the two very distinct things. I think it's important for me to be able to have both. So that was great. And now it's just a case of building the relationships. I think one learning I've got from the MBA course that we've done is that offline is, I think, a lot easier and requires less stress than online marketing. So offline conversations, building relationships, talking to people, and actually having that human interaction drives the conversations that open the doors.
I so agree. And the more coaches I'm with, and I had a great coach in here today on the sofa, on the podcast as well, the more I'm seeing the same truth, because it's true in my story that I think all the best, and we've got our business hats on now, and the MBA you mentioned there is our business course effectively for coaches. Offline networking is the way to build the business in a way that's often overlooked, because there's that sense, you have to be great on social medias and whatnot. Most of the real top coaches are not, they might have a social media presence, but they're not on there to build a business or win clients. All that happens offline through those conversations, old school coffees with networks of friends, of old colleagues that open up those doors and opportunities, providing great coaching, which then leads to referral. That is how you actually build a really skillful business, not posting thousands of reels on Instagram, for example. I think for so many people that's a red herring, and it puts people off becoming coaches because they think, well, I can't stand social media. I don't want to have to post reels all day. I'm like, just don't. And you're a brilliant example of that. And I know actually as part of what you're doing going forward, you've built that into your routine of connecting with people. So what does that look like?
Well, last week I made some brilliant contacts at a Clarins beauty event in Phoenix. And that was really fun because we were having facials and hand massages and talking business while we did so. So it was fab. You cross-refer to each other, just introducing people, click with somebody in a conversation at an event, you connect on LinkedIn, and the next thing you're having a proper conversation about people that they work with who they think you can benefit from, and vice versa. So it becomes this reciprocal benefit. It was great. Okay, and it cost me £100 in Phoenix products as well. So
it was win-win all over the place.
It was an investment in the business.
Exactly, the businessable expense right there. That's networking at its best. You getting pampered and looked after whilst building connection. But we sort of jest, but it's true, isn't it? This is what I'm constantly saying to our coaches. It's getting in front of people. It's having conversations. And because coaching, I think, is so broad and applicable to any organization, individual, everything becomes an opportunity for people to connect and find out where people's pain points, struggles are, where you could potentially provide solutions, and who knows what adventure that takes you on. But, just focusing solely on social media, I think is a complete red herring. I think all the best opportunities evolve and revolve around that traditional offline. So, and I know you're being really successful for that reason. You're building clientele for that reason, because actually you've just skipped a lot of that external and you've gone to offline networking, which I think is super skillful.
And I think as well, if you've got a passion for something and you're talking to somebody face to face, it comes through and you can really bring the thing to life. Whereas if you're posting on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, it's not you. It's yes, you might get a message out there, but it doesn't land and resonate in the same way as having a direct conversation.
I'm such a big believer in this. And online and offline, what's been great about coaching over the last decade now is that we've got the opportunity to do both. We were talking about this earlier, and I think a really good coaching practice has both online and offline, in delivery as well, by the way, not just in terms of marketing. But there is something so powerful about getting in front of people and in person. And my coaching now involves in person at every level. It also involves online, but I don't really do that much exclusive online. And even my training now, we're evolving everything out to include offline training as part of what we do for that same reason. I think there's something special about in person. And I think there will be a move back towards in person as we start to move into this very AI style world where creating content is very easy because bots can do it and stick it out onto, the online platforms. I think good old fashioned, let's get in a room and communicate. And you described it brilliantly there. There's an energy between two humans that you can't portray through a post. You just cannot do that. But when you're in person, you can feel that passion, that drive, that excitement, that zest, that sparkle, that spark. That creates a relationship that sometimes you can't get to via traditional social media.
Not at all. No, I mean when I launched, I only launched at the start of this month officially. So I went out on LinkedIn, did a post, and everybody was really positive. But all that means is that they kind of know you're there. It doesn't mean to say that they're going to transact with you in any way. Do you know what I mean? So you then need to go to the one-to-one conversations to drive the actual business and develop the relationship and build the opportunity.
That's the skill. The skill is to have both in many ways. But and I'm saying this on the MBA recently to the group, I would skew most of my time to offline networking or marketing and just a small portion to online. And I think most people have it the other way around. In fact, or they have no offline. They just try and do it all online. I think that, again, the way to do it is almost exclusively offline with a little bit of online, I think is one of the skillful ways to build a business. Just a final wrap-up question. What does the dream look like? What are you building towards in terms of what you want to create as a coach?
So I've wanted for a long time to have a business that is mine, that I've created and that I own, and it's my thing, and I'm quite proud of it. I wanted to be flexible. I wanted to be location agnostic in the sense that I can do it from anywhere, but I might choose to do it face to face in different places, like in Newcastle where I live, or London, or abroad, or whatever. And I want to have a business where I can see a benefit for the people who I do business with, and I can see making a difference to them, because I think having purpose and seeing fulfillment is really important. Yeah.
And the wonderful thing about coaching as a business is that it can tick all of those boxes, and you're experiencing that already, which I think is a wonderful thing. That sense of contribution, that sense of being able to generate income from this thing that adds value to people's lives, the flexibility to travel. And we spoke about this earlier, but living your optimal life. In a way that you love what you do, that we don't have to retire from. I think coaching is one of the few professions that genuinely gives you the ability to tick all those boxes. I'm excited. Sarah, we did it.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your insights. I'm thrilled with how it's going already. And it's exciting. The future.
That was brilliant. No, I'm really enjoying it, honestly.
All right.
Can't tell you how much. So
good work.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're excited and motivated in many ways. It's great just to eavesdrop, be part of these type of conversations with real coaches in conversation, talking about the things they're excited about, those obstacles, those barriers, those successes, those challenges, and also in this instance, the reasons why we came to coaching in the first place. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow along, subscribe, or whatever it is you need to do to make sure you don't miss out. And also, please share far and wide if you know any coaches or people that are thinking about coaching. And also, if you want to come and train with me to become a coach and get fully accredited, go to coachbusiness.school. And equally, if you're already a qualified coach, don't forget I now have a marketing and business course called the Coach MBA. Again, go to coachbusiness.school. All right, let's do this. Until next time, your coach, Andy.